Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your co-host, Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC Vegas 45. Derrick the Black Beast Lewis versus Chris Daukaus and Shaq. It's going down. Final event of 2021 live at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. You got the number one KO artist, not just in the heavyweight division, Shaq, in the history of the sport, taking on a guy in Chris Daukaus who he's 4 for 4 with 4 KOs in the UFC to start things off. I mean, have there been any baseball players that started off their careers 4 for 4 with 4 home runs? Because that's basically what this kid Chris Daukaus is doing, and just the physical maturation he's made over the years compared to his regional scene. Not to mention he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, hasn't had to show it yet. But with Derrick Lewis, I mean, it's easy for people to sit here and say, "Oh, it's knockout or bust." But I mean, we're talking about a guy that beat Francis Ngannou. We're talking about a guy that beat Alexander Volkov. We're talking about a guy that beat Curtis Blades. He's beat all the best guys in the division, besides the interim champ Cyril Gane. But aside from that, he's beat the who's who. So this is a big test for Chris Daukaus. Chris Daukaus gets this dub. All of a sudden, it's, hey, welcome to the top 5, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I've been high on Daukaus since the debut. He fought Parker Porter, put him down very nicely, very easily. So he had my attention then, and I mean the performances have followed up. I mean knockouts in each one, but this is a big test now. Lewis, like you said, I mean he knocked out Curtis Blades. It's very hard to beat Curtis Blades if you're not Ngannou. Then he beat Shamil as well before a few fights ago. So I mean, I feel like Derrick Lewis is always live for the KO, no matter how much he's getting beat up. I mean, we've seen him pull off comeback KOs before, and we're gonna really see what Daukaus is about, man. I mean, he's been dominating these fights, but I gotta expect there's gonna be some adversity in this one.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And it's also one of those things where you could see that situation where Daukaus is teeing off on him, and it only takes that one shot from Derrick Lewis to come back and win the fight. And I know that sounds, like a far fetch and this and that. Dude, you saw him lose like 14 minutes versus Volkov and never quit, go out there and starch the man, take his ranking, move up. And I mean, Chris Daukaus, look, I'm not trying to bring up things from the past because I think that he's much improved. But if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, the last time he was truly extended. Now, I know the Shamil fight went a couple seconds into round 2, and maybe that's a big sign of improvement. I mean, the guy slimmed down tremendously, but I still can't get that one fight out of my head against the kid that lost to Ledet. We just know he's been knocked out before. He can be knocked out again. Now, granted, gotta fully acknowledge the improvements he's made. So 5 rounds is a long time for these guys to stay conscious. I have a feeling someone will at some point hit the deck, Shaq, in this main event.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has made big strides, and I think that maybe the last one was, but I know one of these fights is he's not a police officer anymore, man, so he doesn't have to you know stress himself out on that side of things. He could just focus on fighting now. So we'll see how he looks.
Oh, so I can ask him to smoke a blunt and not have to
nah.
worry about the repercussions, or or is he a welcome, or would he be like, hey, anyways, co-main event of the evening, we got a matchup between the legendary Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He's 16-5, taking on Bilal, remember the name, Muhammad, who's 19-3. And I mean, like, listen, man, this is Bilal's opportunity. You've been asking for that top 5 guy. Well, here you got the number 5 guy on planet Earth right in front of you. Stephen Thompson's a puzzle, man. I mean, that karate style, not a lot of guys are used to it, and just bringing in 1 or 2 karate guys for a couple-month training camp isn't gonna truly teach you how to deal with his style. But Bilal Muhammad's one of these guys. He's relentless. He goes forward. He doesn't take no for an answer, and he's well-rounded, man. I mean, he can mix in takedowns. He can stuff takedowns. His striking ain't half bad. I mean, I doubt he wants to come out here and have a point distance striking, battle with Stephen Thompson. But I think if he can make this a gritty, dirty fight where takedown attempts are involved, that can make it very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Steven, yeah, he's a tough puzzle. It's hard. The distance is a lot hard for these guys that kind of look lost. I mean, he's had some good performances as of late. Definitely, I wouldn't say he's a top 3 like serious threat to the title, but he's still right there, man. He's still just signed a new contract. He's getting up there in age, so I mean, they clearly still see something in Bilal. Like, is a solid workman, man. I mean, he's well rounded. He can do everything. Not necessarily known for his KO power or anything like that, but he mixes it up well. He's durable. I mean, I've seen him take some shots. What was that fight against Lyman? I mean, he ate some big shots in that third round, and he held on and did his job, man. So I'm super excited for this one.
Absolutely. So we're gonna break down the whole card, start to finish. I mean, this card is for the last card of the year. I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. I mean, we got Amanda Lemos, who is a hot prospect. You got Assuncao given, his gatekeeper role to Ricky Simon. I mean, like, let's see if Ricky can pass this perennial top 15 tough out in Raphael Assuncao. I'm going to mention Raphael's resume when we get to his fight. And then you also got Diego Ferreira versus Mateusz Gamrot, Cub Swanson, Elkins. I mean, Raoni, Gerald, Meerschaert. Like, this is a way to kick off. This is a way to close out 2021, my man.
Yeah, 100%. I'm excited for some of these fights. Like Raoni's coming back from his loss. We got even my boy King Kong Mays, man, Dontel Mays. I'm interested to see if he can take care of business against that guy.
Well, Shaq, let's get right down to business. Everybody do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. And we'll talk about our sponsor, PrizePicks, before the main card. But first, man, in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Matt Sayles, he's 8-3, taking on Jourdain Leavitt, who is 8-1. And currently, they got Jourdain Leavitt minus 120. The comeback on Matt Sayles is plus 100. This is a tough one for me to call. I mean, I'd say Jourdain Leavitt, a bit of a specialist. I mean, we don't got to worry about his hands. We don't got to worry about his kicks. We don't got to worry about his one-punch knockout power. We got to worry about him taking people down, transitioning to the back, riding out moments of top control, looking for submission attempts, the scrambles. That's what Jourdain Leavitt brings. With Matt Sayles, I'm kind of curious where he's been. And word on the street, man, is he put on like 250 pounds in his offseason. I was thinking maybe he wanted to step in for Harry Hunsucker or Justin Tafa in case, someone pulled out, man. But now he's back. And correct me if I'm wrong, he was fighting at 45s. Now he's moving up to 55s. Yeah. So, probably the right decision. I mean, Matt Sayles can bang, man. I mean, I enjoy watching Matt Sayles on the feet. It's just historically speaking, it's not that he sucks on the mat or anything like that. It's just that, better grapplers are going to give him issues, man, whether it's George Hickman back in the day. I know you remember that fight where he got taken down multiple times. The Bryce Mitchell fight was easy work for Bryce. And then even in the Kyle Nelson fight where he won, I mean, in that first round, he was in a locked-in rear naked choke, man. And it's like, on one hand, you got to give a lot of credit to the heart of Matt Sayles for surviving that, coming back to actually win with a submission of his own. But on the other hand, if you're getting into positions with guys like that, I mean, that's Jourdain Leavitt's bread and butter, right? So that's what I'm worried about. I kind of think that if Matt Sayles shows up to the best of his abilities, that maybe the first round sketch, maybe gets taken down, but he can survive. And then rounds 2 and 3, that's when I think Leavitt might start shooting from a mile out. That's when I think Leavitt might start trying to pull guard. And on the feet, I am confident saying that Matt Sayles can piece him up. So my lean is Matt Sayles, but I am obviously sketched out. The guy's been out for 2 years. He ballooned up to 250 pounds. This is a new weight class for him. But I think it's a decently evenly matched fight here. So I'm going to lean Sayles.
Yeah, Jourdain Leavitt definitely he did fight Puelos, who's on a roll, but that last performance, I think he got exposed badly. And when you really look at it, like he tapped out Bavon's little bro. But other than that, man, I don't see much like outside of the submission thing. I don't see much effort. I don't see much fire. Like his striking is terrible. And Matt Sayles, I mean, look, he definitely ballooned up. He had a kid. He ballooned up to 250 pounds. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely some skepticism on like, man, you ballooned up to 250 pounds. Like, what was going on? You know what I'm saying? But hey, I guess he lost the weight. He's moving up a weight class. Offensive firepower. This ain't even close. I mean, Matt Sayles, when you look at the guys that he's lost to, we're talking, Shaman Moraes, like a guy with an extensive history of knocking people out Bryce Mitchell's undefeated. I mean, you saw what Bryce did to Andre Feely. I mean, like, I can't even uh, attribute it to him not having a ground game. I just think Bryce Mitchell is that much of a real specialist when it comes to the wrestling and the grappling. So, look, if he can get on Sayles and submit him, then would it shock me? No, but I just think that Sayles is the better fighter, overall, man. I think that his firepower is Jourdain Leavitt's not gonna like taking these shots. And he's just been in there with much tougher competition, man. This kid, knocked out Matt Wyman. Who's he beat on the Contender Series? Some dude named Luke Flores. I think I know that dude, and his record's like padded as hell. But like, but yeah, in that Puellas fight,
to say the least.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So, I saw the fight with Puellas. I mean, once he got shut down on the grappling side of things, I mean, he pretty much didn't even try. So I'm gonna go with Matt Sayles to get back on track, and he's 2-2 now. He needs this third win so he could keep going. So I think he knocks Jourdain Leavitt out.
Now, next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Don'Tale Mayes. He's 8-4, taking on Josh Parisian, who was 14-4. And currently, they got Don'Tale Mayes minus 185. The comeback on Josh Parisian is plus 160. I mean, I'll be 100% honest with you, like I always want to be, my man. Don'Tale Mayes, man. I mean, on one hand, he did lose to Alan Crowder, so that's one of those things where it's like you lose to Alan Crowder, and that's a big fucking deal. But at the same time, we're dealing with a guy who's 6'6". We're dealing with a guy with an 81-inch reach. We're dealing with a guy who was born in the 90s, so we still got youth on his side. And I mean, his striking output and his accuracy and his defense ain't even that bad. It's just he does tend to eat a lot of shots. He tends to slow down the stretch. Not quite sure, not to question his mental state, but I'm curious how much he truly believes in himself. Basically, I think he's been underperforming. I think that he's a talented, athletic guy. Just we haven't seen the best from him. And with Josh Parisian, I got to keep it 100 with you, man. Like, I have not been impressed with this guy at all. He eats way too many shots. I mean, as you can see right here, Shaq, by what the numbers say, over 6 strikes absorbed per minute at heavyweight. That's not a good look. On the flip side, though, one thing he does bring to the table is he's that kind of guy that, he's constantly throwing. So, if his output is greater than yours, there's a chance he can get that decision. It's just on the flip side, he gets hit almost as much as he lands. So it's like, it's never the best look. He's also not the fastest guy. I can see him take over the second and third round if Don'Tale kind of gasses here. But honestly, man, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw one of the better performances from Don'Tale Mayes and finally use that striking background he has, come out here, land the harder shots, and possibly put Parisian away, man. I thought Parisian lost that Roque Martinez fight, and that's a litmus test for no offense, but for the bottom of the barrel. So give me Don'Tale Mayes to come out here and win. I'm not sure how, but just give me Don'Tale's as my pick.
Yeah, it's a tough fight. I see a lot of people rolling with Don'Tale Mayes. This is my thing with this fight. Like, I think Mayes is the more talented, the more physically gifted, all that good stuff. But man, like, he strikes me as a guy that's gonna be like a letdown. Like, as in, like, he's gonna find a way he's gonna find a way to make this closer than what it is. And I actually rewatched the Parisian versus Roque Martinez fight. I mean, look, yeah, Roque could have won, but he did multiple things to make it closer, man. And the thing I noticed that Parisian's good at is when he does get off, he will get off in like 4 or 5, 6 punch combinations. I mean, like if he throws, but it's like, man, he's been in there with a big old beefy guy like Parker Porter. That's why those numbers are so inflated. I mean, Parker Porter, I know you saw what he did to Chase and this guy. I mean, Parker Porter can get off, man. So as where Don'Tale, Roque Martinez just doesn't do enough. I think Parisian has been fighting with some type of injury because he's got like his foot wrapped up or something like that. So who knows if he comes to the best. I know he had a nice KO on the contender series. I forget who it was against, but I know he's spinning back fisted a guy.
Didn't he have like a couple appearances on contender series, or am I wrong about that?
There was
Chad Johnson? No, that was punches from mounts. Oh yeah, he did. Greg Rebello
had a pretty good record.
Oh, okay, so he wins on contenders. They make him go to the Ultimate Fighter. He loses on the Ultimate Fighter. Then they give him another chance on contender series, and it was like, all right, fine, we'll sign you. Come on, kid.
We need heavyweights, but I think this fight's close to me, man. Dontel might crack him, but even in that Roque Martinez fight down the stretch, he kind of just slowed down, and it was a drop off to me. But I definitely think he's the more talented fighter here. It's just like, please, man, don't start quitting down the stretch, because that's Parisian. That's why he won that fight against Martinez. He did good down the stretch. So I'll take Dontel Mays, but I'm gonna say by a close decision, aka a robbery decision that Parisian might win, just like the last one. But we'll see what happens.
Now, next up in the featherweight division, let's note that Raquel Pennington, she's 12-8, taking on Macy Chiasson, who is 7-1. And currently they got Raquel Pennington -175. The comeback on Macy Chiasson's +150. So, I mean, listen, Macy Chiasson's always had a lot of physical advantages, man. I mean, when you think about it, she's 5'11". She's got a 72-inch reach. Like these are, she's got a longer reach than Max Holloway. You know what I'm saying, man? And trains at a great camp. I love the striking ratio. Lands 4, only eats 2, 49% striking accuracy. So I like these numbers I'm seeing from her. My only concern on the Macy Chiasson side is that I think that when things aren't going smooth sailing, that she might start to question things. She might feel like, okay, just live to fight another day, which it is what it is. But Raquel Pennington, for the most part, I know the Nunes fight was what it was, but for the most part, I mean, she's tough as nails. One thing about Raquel that we can rely on is she's gritty, she's durable. She's gonna go out there, and she's so experienced. She's good at winning these close decisions. And I think that she's got enough to set back the young and up and coming Chiasson, who I think has a bright future, who I think trains at a great camp, who's going to have Safe Saud in her corner. What was he saying in the Landsberg fight between rounds? Like he was going off on. So the only issue I have with confidently saying I got Pennington is that even though she does find a way to win these fights, a lot of them are like split decisions, man. So it's like, it's a game of inches here. So I do lean Pennington, but I mean, if someone wants to take a shot on Chiasson and hope for that split decision, I mean, I can't sit here talk you off of it, but I personally slightly lean towards Raquel to just edge this one out.
Yeah, it's a tough fight because of the weight class for me. I think 145 much favors Chiasson. I mean, when she was on Tough, she was running through girls at 145, but now she's been having to suffer and cut these 10 pounds. And look, we know Chiasson's very green. But like she's had a lot of time in between fights, in between the last one and now this one. So I'm expecting improvements. And the thing I'm really interested about is like Raquel spends a lot of time in the clinch, man. And she's trying to clinch a girl who's like almost 6 foot. Like I feel that she might struggle in that aspect. Where usually she's dominating that aspect, except like against. But like when you look at Raquel's resume, I mean, she only loses to former champions, GDR, Holly Holm, Nunes, who else she lose to? Andrade. Like she doesn't really lose to these type of girls, so I definitely understand why she's favored. But you made a good point. Like a lot of her fights are coming down to the wire, and now that you mix in, the 145 thing, the size, who knows? And let's see if Macy's improved at all. I think this fight could be a lot closer, man. I can't necessarily say Chiasson's gonna win this fight, but I think there's a lot of good factors going for her, like her not cutting the extra 10 pounds, Raquel having that extra 10 pounds. So we'll see. I'm going to actually take Chiasson in an upset, but I understand why Raquel's favorited. I mean, she's got a good resume, so.
Speaking of another fight that's moving up to 145 pounds, we got Charles Jourdain. He's 11-4. Well, he's been at 45s, but I'm talking about his opponent, Andre Ewell, who is 17-8, who's finally moving up. Because, I mean, we're about to find out, was it the weight cut issues or is it a matter of, Andre can sometimes flake out in these fights? Because the thing that the reason why I always am tempted to like give Andre a chance, even though he's let me down. And when I die, I want him to lower me into my grave so he can let me down one last time. I mean, like, dude, he's got a 6-inch reach advantage in this fight. His volume is on point. I mean, his hands, he's long. Like, I like Andre Ewell. It's just some of this decision making. Also, maybe some slight questions about the gas tank past round 1. He tends to slow down. Man, I just wish that one day he'd put it all together. And then I find myself saying the same thing about Charles Jourdain, who I think he's ultra talented, man. I mean, like, if you really look at what he's been doing out here, man, I mean, he's landing knockdowns against, Julian, which a lot of people knock down Julian, and I'm gonna get to that fight in a sec. 2 against Rojo, 1 against Feely, 2 against Duho. So he's been knocking down most of his opponents that he's been fighting. Also showed that he can land over 100 significant strikes in that Rojo fight, which didn't even go all 15 minutes. So the guy's got the volume. Here's where he fucked up with the Erosa fight. If you really pay attention to the details, guys are going to drop Erosa every single fight, but the guys that kind of let him off the hook, that's the biggest mistake you can make when you're fighting Julian Erosa. I don't know what it is. Julian Erosa is a good fighter when he's not getting knocked out. And if you drop Julian Erosa and you let him off the hook, he's going to come back out there with that veteran savvy. And he gave the young kid a vet lesson. But what we got to understand is that when we're dealing with a kid like Charles Jourdain, he was born in 1995. He's just a kid. He's going to be making these big improvements every single time. And he's been kind of thrown to the wolves, man. I mean, Des Green in that debut. Duho Choi was, I mean, I know his chin is gone since Jeremy and Cub, but like that was a big name, and it was in Europe too. I mean, not in Europe, in China. China or Korea?
South Korea.
It was in Korea, in where Duho Choi is from. Andre Feely for your third fight. Andre Feely's had like how many times the fights that,
close to 20.
You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that this kid's like literally like he's not getting any easy fights, and Andre Ewell has been hit or miss, but he's not an easy fight either. So I think both guys are going to have to dig deep. I'm just curious to see how Andre Ewell looks up a weight class, right? Because it's like cutting the 35s. Was he not taking the punches out as well towards the end because of that? Or is he just chinny? Like, what's the deal? So there's a chance he comes out here and performs a lot better at this weight class. And Charles Jourdain, I'm waiting for him to finally put it together. So I don't know. This is a tough one for me to call, man. I'll lean Jourdain, but I guess you can definitely make an argument for some line value on Ewell at the, at the plus 160, plus 170 line. It's just, I've been burnt out trying those games before with Ewell. So let's see if he looks different at 45s. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the weight class is a big hindrance for this guy, and I actually don't think Charles Jourdain is that talented, to be honest. I mean, I think he's got good kicks and definitely turns up in the later rounds. But man, I feel like Andre Ewell has just been a detriment to himself, whether it's his team or just the weight. I mean, how tall is he? Like 5'11"?
Yeah,
like
tall.
We're talking about a 5'11" bantamweight, man. Like that's like
he's a little shorter than that, but yeah,
5'10",
5'8",
5'8", but 75
inch reach,
like fucking long arms, long legs. And I feel like he kind of does get tired down the stretch, but I mean, when you cut all that weight, man, you only have a good window to be fresh, man. And I see it. The first rounds he's good in, you know what I'm saying? First rounds he's good in. It's just the longer it goes, but when I have a feeling you're probably cutting north of 20 pounds and the week of the fight, then I mean that gas tank is gonna go down. My thing with Jourdain is look at these last few fights that he's been in. He fought Kulabau, which he was like minus 500 some crazy, and I was like, I don't understand why he's he's like this big, because Kulabau only lost one fight. to Jalen Turner, and he did not live up to that line. Then we go to the Rojo fight. Great finish, but the first 2 rounds, I mean, luckily Rojo took it on short notice because, you know, I mean, the first 2 rounds could have went either way. I mean, what was he lined up in that fight? Like a big favorite again. He was like minus 400, minus 300, like, and then the Julian Erosa fight, I was honestly interested in him in that fight, but I had to hold myself back just because I'm like, this dude doesn't live up to his lines, man. He is consistently close. Yeah, he knocked out Duho, but Duho's like the South Korean Garbrandt, man. It's like he can't take a punch. Like, I don't know what it is, man. So I think he's a little overrated, man. I think this could be a good spot for Andre, if he's looking better, but I do expect him to look better. His job's on the line as well. So, I mean, I'm expecting the hungriest Andre Ewell that we've ever seen, man. I think he's going to pull off this upset just by, just giving different looks, man, going forward. Because it seems like Jourdain, like, he'll get on the offensive, but seems like he doesn't have a bad chin to me, but, like, he's always on the defense, shelling up, and I feel like he could just be more on the go. Seems like he waits till like the 3rd round, I guess, but we'll see what happens. But I'm going with Andre Ewell for the upset.
And next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Sijara Eubanks, she's 7-6, taking on Melissa Gatto, who is 7-0-2. And currently, it just depends where you look, but minus 160 Eubanks. The comeback on Melissa Gatto is plus 140. So Gatto was coming off that long layoff where the fight prior to the layoff, she finished Carol Hossa in the first round. But, you were wondering about a lot of these fights, goes to her back a lot, but comes in there in that UFC debut. Hands look a lot better. I understand who the opponent was, but still, the hands looked a lot better. The scrambling has always been on point. Her aggression is there. But I think what I like most about her is honestly just her fieriness, her scrappiness, her willingness to, even if you put her on her back, she's consistently attacking for submissions. Now, that might be kind of hard to do against Lloyd Irvin black belt, which is what Sijara Eubanks is. But, man, there's a lot of these fights where Sijara Eubanks, she's got these credentials. I mean, she honestly should have been a UFC world champion. I mean, it was her versus Nico Montano for the belt. She had to pull out due to weight issues, and then they put Roxanne Modafferi in there. So we could be looking at a former champ in Eubanks, but at the same time, man, it's like some of these fights, she just underperforms where you want to see her do a lot better. I mean, it's so impressive that she beat Lauren Murphy when she did, beat Roxanne Modafferi twice, if you want to get technical, because Ultimate Fighter, that counts. I mean, the head kick of Deanna Bennett. So, but then on the other hand, she's lost to Aspen Ladd twice. Y'all saw that Aspen Ladd main event with Norma Dumont. I know most of y'all forgot about it, and if any of y'all ever have trouble sleeping, fuck taking a sleeping pill, just pop on Aspen Ladd versus Norma Dumont, and you're gonna get that nice REM sleep. You're gonna get that nice deep sleep. You wake up refreshed the next morning. And then there's also been spots like Sijara versus Betchy Correa where she was like minus 3 something and completely dropped the ball against a fighter who did she recently retire, or is she about to retire?
Retired.
She retired after the Hossa fight, right? Okay, yeah. So against a retired fighter. So I'm not quite seeing what I want, but then other times she'll go in there against Julia Avila, give her that vet lesson, show her that, like, hey, like, there's levels to this shit. So I'm on the fence because I think Melissa Gatto, she's made big improvements in her time off. I like her scrambling ability. I like how she knows where her strengths lie. My only concern is that Sijara, with that jiu-jitsu background that she has, can possibly get on top and neutralize the sub attempts and kind of just win 2 of the rounds and win a decision. So that's what I'm scared of. But since I'm going back and forth on this, I'm gonna end up actually taking the dog because I think she's got a little bit more tenacity, more ferocity. I think she wants it a little bit more. I think she's got a point to prove coming off that layoff, and I think that last fight she had was a lot to build off of compared to her last fights. Like, she's incrementally getting better every single time. So as long as she doesn't get held down for 2 of the 3 rounds, I think she can make this close, man. So let me go with the underdog Gatto here.
Yeah, man, this is tough because if I'm not mistaken, Eubanks ain't if she makes 125, I don't think she's lost at 125. So that's why she's going back down to this weight class. She was at 35. I mean, she didn't lose to any scrubs either. Kienzad, Vieira, Aspen Lad, Betchka here, that was a scrub. But like,
Hold on. Sorry. I don't really understand this comment. 20 minutes in, I can confidently say Shaq watched Cody's show like a dog. Like, you're talking about Cody Garbrandt's like fight versus Kai Car. Like, I don't understand the comment. Who's Cody? Like, what? Does that, am I misreading something? I don't know. We can move on, but yeah, I'm not sure what that comment means. Can you elaborate? But anyways, keep going.
Yeah. I was saying, she definitely has more experience against like better girls. Didn't lose to any scrubs, and she's beat Lauren Murphy, Mata Ferry. So like at 125, she hasn't really lost, and Gatto looks very talented. I mean, to beat Carol Rosa and break her arm. I mean, she looks like she hurt what's the girl's name from last fight? Leonardo looks like she hurt her arm too. So we know that this girl can, hurt arms. It's just like you said, Eubanks is not just a Lloyd Irvin, but if I'm not mistaken, she's a world champion jiu-jitsu player as well. So it's going to be a tough fight. Sijara's got heart. She's tough. She just has like a gassing problem a little bit. Maybe that's with the extra weight, but I want to see if she actually makes the weight because, she's like getting older, like 37, to make that weight 2 times in a row. I mean, she was already struggling with it before.
She had to pull out of a UFC title fight.
Like it was already an issue before. And I think that, it definitely could be lying closer. It's just, Gatto likes to fight off her back and she's really young. Do I think she's a better fighter than Carol Rosa? Not at all. But, apparently she's got some good arm attacks, man. So it's going to be close. I'll go on the other side. I'll say Eubanks by close decision. Just trying to, bro, all right.
Should we just but firstly, I love that dude he's talking about. Cody Safdie's a fucking great guy.
Good,
but like
I'm not watching any shows.
We don't watch shit, bro. Besides the fights we gotta get ready for.
Yeah.
Hey, but shout out to my boy. He's a great guy.
Okay. But like I think she's just gonna it's gonna be close, like 1-1 going into the third. But I just think she kind of gives her a vet lesson. We'll see.
Yeah. Now, next up in the heavyweight division, we got a match between Justin Tafa. He's 4-3, taking on the one and only Harry Hunsucker, who is 7-4. And currently, they got Justin Tafa -310. The comeback on Harry Hunsucker is +255. So, dude, I've heard anytime Hunsucker fights, you're gonna hear some funny ass shit on Fight Week. Someone tweeted at me saying he's gonna make the bookies Hunsuck it, So, yeah, I mean, listen, Hunsucker, he comes to bang, man. He throws, it's kill or be killed every single fight. And with his opponent Justin Tafa, he's got a little bit of that Mark Hunt style, you know what I mean? The big left hook, he's got good breaks off the clinch, nice elbows, the leg kicks. He's got that Samoan warrior style, man. It's Mark Hunt Jr., So I enjoy what I see from him. I personally don't feel comfortable laying -310 on Justin Tafa, man. I think that he needs a lot of work, and I think that he's got a lot of potential. And I do think he's better than Harry Hunsucker, but a couple of these fights I've been wanting a little bit better performances, whether it was the Jared Vanderaa fight or but Hunsucker's going to come out here and throw bombs. Is just, I'd say Tafa is probably the more durable guy here, and I think his hands are a little bit more solid. So give me Justin Tafa to get it done. Maybe he gets that first round knockout and he covers that price tag. I would just proceed with caution with a 4-3 fighter at a price like that.
Yeah, man, I feel like Tafa is one of these guys where he's overrated, but he's been put in a spot where he just wasn't able to compete. I mean, he could compete with those guys, but actually beat them. Even Vanderaa, who might be considered a jobber, but like Vandeera's got a lot of fights and won a lot of fights, so it's like, he's at a different level than Harry Hunsucker, Carlos Boy Felipe, all these guys, man. So yeah, he's been struggling, and I don't want to say he let himself down, but I think this is a good spot to get back on track, man. I view Boy Felipe and Vanderaa as better than this guy, Harry Hunsucker, man. This guy, he probably would. Who's an NFC heavyweight? I don't know. Fucking
Bolo.
like, could he beat Bolo? We'll see. But nah, I got Tafa here by first round KO. Like Harry Hunsucker is just that guy, you bring in to get one of your prospects back on track, man. You just bring him in. Hey, Harry, just come take this knee and let my boy Tafa get his win bonus.
Now, next up in the bantamweight division, this should be very exciting. We got Raoni Barcelos. He's 16-2, taking on Victor Henry, who is 21-5. And currently, they got Raoni Barcelos minus 350 the comeback on Victor Henry's plus 285. So this is exciting because you guys know how we feel about Raoni Barcelos. I think he's got all the skills. I think he's one of the best guys on planet Earth at that weight class. I know Shaq disagrees with me on this, but I don't even really think he lost that last fight, man. I think you put in the same referee that was in there with Trevin and Valiev, and that's a second round knockout for Raoni Barcelos, man. Did he kind of take his foot off the gas when he shouldn't have? Yeah, that's something you can learn from. But only one guy almost died in the fight, and it wasn't Raoni, man. But back to this. Look, Victor Henry, got a lot of respect for him, man. He kind of strikes me. Firstly, he's coming into the UFC with 26 fights under his belt, and he's beat some legit guys. He beat Kyler Phillips by decision. That's a nice win. Now, it was Kyler around the Ultimate Fighter era, and we've talked about often how Kyler Phillips has made a great transformation into what he is now. But still, that's a solid ass win. Also beat a couple other UFC vets. Masanori Kanehara knocked him out, choked out Albert Morales, beat a bunch of the guys on the Japanese scene. So it's not like he's in there, fighting like 0-3 guys and this and that. At least he's fighting some legit competition outside the UFC. So he's earned his spot. He kind of has a bit of that like samurai spirit type thing. Kind of reminds me of like Lando, and not Jiri skills wise, but like Jiri maybe mentality wise. The guy, you'll find him doing some interesting stuff. He's also a protege under Josh Barnett. So Josh Barnett, he touched UFC heavyweight gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back long ass time ago. Yeah. Okay, so to be coached by a former UFC world champion and just a who's who in the sport. Victor Henry's going to win some fights, man. I'm impressed with this guy. He's got unorthodox kicks. He's got a nasty jiu-jitsu game. He's experienced. He's tough. He comes to fight. My issue with Victor Henry is that physically speaking, although he's in fantastic shape, I do kind of think that he can be bullied at times. I do think he can be held down at times. I do think that he can lose certain pocket exchanges at times, especially against a guy like Raoni Barcelos, who we've talked about this multiple times. Firstly, Raoni Barcelos' dad is a red belt, which you guys know there's only like 8 of those on planet Earth. And Raoni Barcelos is a black belt under him. So he's a black belt under a red belt. That speaks volumes to the kind of jiu-jitsu credentials. And his boxing is so good that he had pro boxers bringing him out to help them train. So this is one of the most well-rounded guys in the whole in the whole weight class, man. And I think that I personally think he's a top 10 guy right now. That's just my opinion. You're allowed to disagree. And I'd also rank him higher than Valiev, but that's also my opinion, which you might disagree on. But bottom line, man, I think that Raoni Barcelos is going to be tighter in the pocket exchanges. And if shit maybe gets sketchy on the feet, which I don't foresee happening, but just in case, Raoni can always go to that back pocket, change that level, mix in that entry, get on top of him and ride out the rounds, or possibly get a submission along the way. So while I do respect Victor Henry and I think he's going to win some UFC fights, and this isn't the typical like, oh my God, it's his debut, how's he fighting Raoni Barcelos? Like, this isn't like Carlos Huachin, where it's just like, you're just going to run through this guy, no issue. I think Victor's going to come to fight, man. It's just too much too soon at the UFC level. So give me Raoni Barcelos to come out here and win this fight decisively.
Yeah, I just think Raoni's gonna stop him early, man. I think Victor Henry is coming in on short notice. Yeah, 26 fights, but this is a whole different ball game now, man. Not these Albert Morales, like you know what I'm saying? Like
beat Kyler, but yeah,
like Raoni would beat Kyler too, man.
True.
But I think Yeah, man. I only ain't losing back to back, man. The Valiev fight was a disappointment. I didn't want him to take that fight. I mean, I know Valiev was hungry to prove the Trevin Jones fight was a fluke, and I mean, Valiev is no slouch, man. But like you look at all these guys, Raoni's fight. I mean, you saw what he did to Chris Gutierrez. I mean, he treated him like a small child. Hollowball was a vicious finish. Who else did he fight? The Taha fight. I mean, he comes out here. I just think you got to be careful with them Russian point fighters, man. They're good at weaseling decisions, and props to Valiev, man. I've never heard Mark Henry scream that loud in a fight in my life. He was like team when he was getting rocked, he was screaming. But I got Raoni in this fight, man. This kid will be back, I'm sure, but on Saturday night he's gonna finish.
For the first time in 26 pro fights, I believe. Well, let me double check that.
Yeah, no, all his losses are by like split decision, but like, look who he's fighting though.
No, you're right. So that would be his first finish loss if it were to take place. The next up in the middleweight division, we got a match between Gerald GM3 Meerschaert, who's 33-14, taking on Dustin Stoltzfus, who is 13-3. And currently they got Gerald Meerschaert minus 230. The comeback on Dustin Stoltzfus is plus 190. So listen, I'm a big fan of Gerald Meerschaert. I mean, I think he's got the most submissions in middleweight history, and more tthan Damian Maia. I mean, that's pretty goddamn impressive, Shaq. And I think he's a great fighter, man. It's just I'm not personally comfortable laying minus 230 on Gerald. That's just me, and that's all due respect to a true vet, a black belt, a guy with a hard body kick, a guy who just beat Mahmoud Muradov as a big underdog. Props to him on that. Dustin Stoltzfus, I think he's solid, man. I mean, I liked his Contender Series fight. Unfortunately, the Kyle Dawkins fight kind of got outgrinded, and then the Rodolfo Vieira fight, everybody counted out Rodolfo because of the fluffy fight, and Rodolfo stand-up looked a lot better, and he ended up getting the submission in the third. So at least for Stoltzfus, he's had two somewhat similar matchups, just in the sense that, black belt in Dawkins, black belt in Rodolfo, now another black belt Meerschaert. So at least he's seen, look, they're all different. They all bring different qualities and different traits, but at least he's seen somewhat of a similar look to where he can come in here with the right game plan, and maybe third time's the charm for him. So, I mean, what's your opinion here, man?
Yeah, I don't like Meerschaert at those type of lines. I like him as an underdog. And because he was the underdog to Barcelos, if I'm not mistaken, and the underdog to Muradov, obviously. So I'm interested to see. Look, Stoltzfus might not be the best, but I definitely think there was improvements between the Dawkins fight and the Rodolfo fight. I mean, look, Rodolfo, a focused Rodolfo. I mean, he good, man. The jab was on point. He's got Dustin's got to work on his head movement, but if he was ever gonna get away with it, it would be here, man. I mean, Gerald Meerschaert is not known for his striking besides his body kicks, but his punches, his head movement are not there. It's never been there. But, Gerald has a way of working his magic on that ground, man, and he ends up pulling off these subs. So I don't like Gerald as a favorite, just period. Like, when he wins, it's always an underdog. Like the Trevin fight, he was the underdog. Most of his fights, he's the underdog. So it's interesting to see him. I like Dustin Stoltzfus. I don't think he's that bad. And he's got to be hungry, man. This job's on the line too, pretty much. So, I mean, of course, I'm going to go with GM3 as a pick, but from a betting side of things, I mean, I don't really see anywhere GM3 can go to in this fight to guarantee a win, even on the ground. Stoltzfus is a black belt. So, we'll see what happens, but I'm going to go with GM3.
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel relatively the same way. I think Stoltzfus is no slouch. I think he had two really tough matchups to enter the UFC, and here's another third tough matchup. But now it's a time where it comes to sink or swim, like, are you ready or not? And that's the bottom line here. And, I mean, I think the kid's solid everywhere, and I think that Gerald Meerschaert is such a vet of this sport, man. I mean, like, to have near 50 pro fights like this dude has had. Like, I mean, like, he's seen everything there is to see in the sport. So, like, yeah, I'm with you. Like, I lean Meerschaert. I think Meerschaert probably gets it done, but I'm just not comfortable at a price like that. And I think, like you said, Stoltzfus is going to come in here hungry. He is no slouch. So maybe third time's the charm for him, but I lean Meerschaert. And when I say I lean, that means that minus 225 is not a lean type price, right? So, yeah, it's dog or pass, but my pick is Meerschaert. Next up in the featherweight division, we got a match between Darren, the Damage Elkins. He's 26-9, taking on Killer Cub Swanson, who is 27-12. Currently, they got Cub Swanson minus 177. The comeback on Darren Elkins is plus 157. So, I mean, Shaq, like, here's one thing we can agree on. Cub Swanson's going to light this dude up in the early going. There's no questions asked about that. It's just my whole thing is Darren Elkins, not only does he have a knack for the comeback, but his name's the Damage. He can take, for the most part, not always, but for the most part, he can take your hardest shots and keep coming forward. I'm very curious to see what happens if, you know, he gets lit up that first round, but finds a takedown, finds a back take. Like, I think if he takes Cub's back, he can choke him out, man. Like, I think that if he gets on top of Cub, there's no guarantee that Cub gets back up. But then on the feet, there's no guarantee that Elkins ain't hitting the canvas, right? So how do you kind of see this one going, man?
It's a tough fight because we know Elkins is, you know, punching back on the feet. It's just like, if he gets him down, is that really it? Because, you know, when I look at Elkins, at least the latest comeback win against Derek Minner, like, Derek Minner was trying to grapple him, you know, like, was trying to mount him and pass guard, man, which is like, I mean, I don't know if he's ever seen Elkins fight, but that's the last I would try to knock Elkins out with hands and kicks. Like, trying to grapple him is like one of the biggest mistakes. That's what he wants, you know, like when he fought Meerschaert kept trying to wrestle him. I was like, bro, just punch him in the head. But he kept trying to take him down. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Look, Cub Swanson definitely. I mean, it's Cub. He's a legend of the sport. Like, I'm not expecting him to, like, when he fights these guys like Chikadze and Moicano and Ortega and stuff like that. You know, at least I am. I'm expecting him to lose because those are, you know, he's the gatekeeper for those guys. But when you give him like a fair matchup, in my opinion, it was someone his age, somewhere, you know, like how long they've been in the game. Like, this fight kind of reminds me of the Lamas fight, man. I think Cub's he can get up from bottom. When he fought what's his name, Daniel Pineda, man, Pineda got deep in on a couple of shots. He got up every time. He sprawled on a couple. Like, I don't think unless he gets like cut open really badly, but I just don't see Elkins being able to inflict that type of danger like Chikadze and Moicano and Ortega and these guys that he's been losing to. Like, when you look at the guys he's been losing to, they're all like relevant, you know, top guys in the sport. And that's where Elkins, you know, I like Elkins, man. Elkins, we grew up on Elkins, man. It was just
and
Cub. So, but like, you know, it's just one of those fights where I see Cub touching him up at an alarming rate. And you know, and I do think he could get back up to his feet. Like, I'm not convinced if he gets taken down, that's it. Like, Cub's a black belt, definitely has been submitted before, but we're talking about Ortega and Moicano, like these big giants. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Ortega beat Moicano as well. So, like, I just think it's a different level than the guys Elkins has been coming back on. I think Cub just beats him up for 3 rounds. You know, probably Elkins ain't. You know, it's hard to get Elkins out of there, man. But I think Cub wins a decision, man, 30-27.
I mean, look, I can see it because on the feet, like, if Elkins starts getting the better of those exchanges, you know, that'd be a shocker to me. So I do see Cub Swanson just being more explosive, fast twitch. The way he sets up his hands, man, his kicking game, don't sleep on that either, man. And I've seen him hit a nice judo throw or two in his time. Remember when he judo throw Dennis Seaver on the card where Anderson fought Chris Weidman, and like, you could hear the whole place shake on that. So I mean, Cub Swanson.
What he did to Charles and Dustin.
he finished Charles in the first round and whooped on Dustin. So yeah, I mean, Cub Swanson's a true legend, a pioneer. But still, I am worried about Darren Elkins has done this so many times where he's getting lit up early and then he takes your back and chokes you out or finishes you somehow. I'm worried about him taking that ass whooping up front and coming back. Like, I can't sit here and be confident that Darren Elkins is on top of him or Darren Elkins has his back, that, shit's not going to go south for Cub Swanson. But at the same time, Elkins can't get these takedowns. If you kind of look back at a fight between Elkins and Jeremy Stevens, Jeremy kind of laid out the blueprint on how to keep it standing and bust this guy up, and you're going to go out there and win. So I do think Cub Swanson to follow that blueprint, and I am going to pick Cub to win, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't sketched if Elkins got on top of him, if Elkins was mixing in takedowns, if Elkins took his back. I mean, that's what I'm worried about, man. But yeah, the pick is Cub. Just, too fast, too smooth on the feet, and hopefully for his sake can keep it standing. Now, next up in the 55-pound division, we got a matchup between Carlos Diego Ferreira, he's 17-4, taking on Mateusz Gamrot, who is 19-1. Currently, they got Mateusz Gamrot minus 177. The comeback on Carlos Diego's plus 157. So, listen, Mateusz has been interesting because I was impressed with him on his regional scene, but then there was questions of, is that record padded? Is it not? This or that? I mean, Norman Park 3 times, whatever, but he handled those guys. Comes into the UFC and lays an egg in that debut, in my opinion. A lot of people say that's a high-level fight. I thought the Gamrot I saw in the regional scene and the Gamrot I saw his next 2 fights compared to that one, I'm like, dude, that wasn't the same guy. But then you talk to literally anyone at ATT, and they said that Gamrot has such a bad injury, a knee injury, I believe, that he was just not confident doing his game out there. But he didn't want to pull out because it was his UFC debut. So he the UFC didn't pressure him to take it. He pressured himself to take it. And as a result, he lost to a guy that he's actually probably better than. You know what I mean? Like, I think if they ran it back and Gamrot's at 100%, he's going to go out there and he's going to beat that guy. But here, now we're getting the best version of Gamrot. And the Carlos Diego Ferreira is a guy that I have so much respect for. I mean, his jiu-jitsu game, and we talk about this every time, man. I mean, you saw what he did to Gary Tonin in pure jiu-jitsu. Even those scrambles he was having with Gregor, man, I mean, there were times when I thought he was going to choke out Gregor, but man, he kind of missed weight for that fight. He kind of broke towards the end. He didn't have the gas tank to keep going and keep pushing. And that's an issue in these fights against these grapplers. A similar thing occurred with Beneil. He kind of, like, if you can get past these Umaplata attempts, if you can get past these guillotines, if you can get past what this guy will tie your arm behind your back and pound you out. Like, Carlos Diego is one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in not just the lightweight division, but in the UFC. So Mateusz has to be, he's got to be on his P's and Q's, but luckily for Mateusz, he's got that style to neutralize high-level grapplers. And if he's able to do that, man, I think he can come out here and win another decision. The issue is that Mateusz does tend to shoot from like a mile out. He's got his own weird kind of takedown style, a lot of low singles, a lot of ankle picks, a lot of things that you don't often expect. But man, once he's on top of you, it's hard for guys to get up. And then on the feet, he's decent. He's solid. I mean, he can do the thing, right, man? I mean, never been knocked out, just pretty damn solid. So, but Carlos can fight too, man. It's just like, I think Carlos has been struggling with these weight cuts, man, like over and over, and it lets him down as the fights go deeper. So that's what I'm worried about here. So I've been a huge fan of Carlos. He's came through for me on a lot of underdog tickets, but I think in this one, I'm leaning Gamrot. I think the early going, there's going to be a lot of back and forth exchanges, but as Diego starts to tire, as he starts to fatigue, that's where I think Gamrot can just get a little bit of extended top control and win 2 of the 3 rounds. So give me Gamrot to get this done.
It's a tough one because I really don't know which Carlos Diego Ferreira I'm dealing with. The Beneil fight, he lost the first 2 rounds, and then, no shame in that. And then the fight with Gregor, I mean, he missed weight and, he gassed out bad towards the end, man. It was looking like a good performance at first, but he ran out of steam. And I don't know if he's been at Fortis for this camp, man. We'll see. I think he's just doing it back in his hometown, not Fortis, but like he lives somewhere else. But like, I'm not sure if he went out to Fortis at all. Gamrot, I know he's training as hard as possible. Only thing with Gamrot is, coming into the UFC, I definitely thought he was overrated, padded record. I mean, I can't even say he handled Norman Park 3 times because one of them was close. Like they had to do a third fight. So, like,
the third one, he fucked him up so bad that Norman was apologizing to him.
I mean, I haven't been hearing good things about Norman, man. It should have even. Okay, cool. I mean, Norman, I've been hearing some bad things about Norman over the years. Just put it that way. But as far as this fight goes, man, yeah, it's like a year ago, man, 2 years ago, Diego Ferreira would put a stamp on Gamrot. But at the same time, Gamrot beat a 40-year-old Scott Holtzman. And I mean, I know Jeremy ain't 40, but in 5 years, he's 40.
Jeremy's like 0-7 in his last 7 fights.
In the real scheme of things, like, should we be hyping him up that much because he beat 2 aging guys on their way out the game? Unless Carlos is on his way out the game, then I guess he'll fall right in line. But I don't know, man. Like, I'm still having questions about Gamrot. Like, I want to see a 3-round, 15-minute against a guy like Diego Ferreira to see what he's really capable of, man. I think Holtzman and Jeremy are a year away from retirement, if that. You said Jeremy's lost how many fights in a row? 7?
Well, he's winless because remember the eye poke was no contest. Winless in his last 7 or 6.
They can't cut Jeremy though. It's like that's family.
but Sam Alvey.
Look, they got a case about Sam Alvey, but Sam Alvey is really nice, man. So, but don't worry, guys. I'm sure he'll be out of here soon.
He's fighting Ian Heinisch next.
He's gonna lose a boring decision in that, and I think you guys will probably get what you wanted. But I think, man, it's tough for me to play that price on Gamrot. I just wanted to see more. I'm not saying that he can't win. It's just, I highly doubt you're about to just come out here and Kimura, Carlos Diego Ferreira, and or even, knock him out. I mean, Carlos has a very good chin. I mean, I don't remember the Taisumov fight back in the day and the Kabilov fight back in the day on European turf. I mean, he broke both those guys.
And Pettis.
And Pettis, man. Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was easy work. It's not like I want to pick Diego Ferreira. I'm just not 100% sold on Gamrot. I know he's been training with some good guys, but I'm going to take Diego Ferreira in a upset, man, just to kind of win the last 2 rounds and keep his ranking, man. It would suck if Diego lost 3 in a row, man.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his. I even have his shirt from back when he beat Ramsey Nijam. Next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Raphael Assuncao, he's 27-8, taking on Ricky Simon, who is 18-3. And currently they got Ricky Simon minus 265. The comeback on Raphael Assuncao is plus 225. So another interesting one, man, in the bantamweight division. I mean, for the longest time with Raphael Assuncao, he was the gatekeeper to the elite, and he beat most of the elite guys. I mean, wins over Sterling, wins over TJ Dillashaw, Pedro Munoz, Marlon Moraes, Rob Font. Back in the day, beat Jorge Masvidal. So, I mean, in this dude's beat Lozon as well. In this dude's day, he was the man, but, he's 10 years older than Ricky Simon. He's shorter. He's got the reach disadvantage, and he's got a very low output style. It's funny that it says he actually lands more than Ricky does, but Ricky fights at such a higher pace. And one thing I want to say about Ricky, man, that's so impressive about him is look at these takedown numbers, man. Just throughout his whole career, Contender Series fight lands 14 takedowns. Goes in there against Merab, the takedown machine, hits 2 takedowns on him. 7 takedowns on Montel. 4 takedowns on a jiu-jitsu ace, Ronnie Yaya, who's still winning fights to this day. Obviously, the Faber stunt happened. The next fight against Rob Font, lands 6 takedowns against him. Lands 7 takedowns against Ray Borg. Lands 7 takedowns against Perello. Lands 6 takedowns against Brian Keller. So one thing about Ricky Simon, he's out here putting up numbers and he fights at an incredibly high pace. But you take it a step further, Assuncao's got an 80% takedown defense. So he's not known for exactly coming out here and giving up a lot of takedowns. What he's known for is he sits back and he counters, and he kind of gives these guys somewhat of vet lessons, but kind of like point fighting clinics. It's just that he hasn't done that since 2018. And in addition to that, it's one thing to lose 3 fights in a row, but they're all like competitive, spirited battles and this and that, and you don't hold it against the guy. But these last 3 fights from Assuncao is the sign that he's on his way out. And Raphael is a guy that if I see him in person, I'm shaking his hand. He's from Atlanta. I got all the respect in the world for him. I mean, he's a pioneer. What he did for Atlanta MMA, like, dude, you'll always have my respect. Like, I fuck with Raphael. It's just, taking all that aside and talking from a betting perspective, I haven't seen that same Raphael since 2018, Shaq. It's almost 2022. You understand what I'm saying? That was almost half a decade ago, the last time he truly looked like himself. It's one thing. I know Marlon Moraes has looked terrible lately, and Marlon ran through him. And if you want to really dig deep into that, they fought before and Rafa won, so that's a sign of a step down. Sandhagen fight, that was an ugly fight, man. Rafa did not look good in that fight. But then the Garbrandt fight, fuck the knockout, take away the knockout. What about up until the knockout? Because the knockout happened at the very end of the second round. That was by far the worst Raphael has ever looked in his entire career. And I finally saw that 39-year-old, that 40-year-old old man. And I just have a hard time, and I say I have a hard time seeing a 40-year-old beat Ricky Simon, but we all remember when a 40-year-old cost a lot of people a lot of money when he went out there and knocked out Ricky Simon in under a minute when Uriah Faber did. But credit to Ricky Simon. I think he paid his dues. I think he took his lumps like a man. And now I think he's starting to live up to his potential. And this is the ultimate litmus test to see, do you belong in the top 15 or not? And while it might be kind of hard to take down Assuncao, and I'm also worried about the fact that, like, Ricky's stand-up ain't exactly the prettiest. Ricky gets rocked in a lot of these fights. I'm not just talking about the Uriah Faber fight. Hani Yaya dropped him. Anderson Dos Santos dropped him. So there are some durability questions. I mean, he's in such good shape that he can recover fast. But at the flip side, Raphael ain't really exactly known for hurting too many people. So I think Ricky's going to push that pace on Raphael Assuncao, win the decision, move into the rankings. But here's my question, man. I mean, should I be out here parlaying Ricky, minus 300 with, someone like Raoni? Like, can I trust him 2 years later to come out here and, pass this test once again? Or do you think Assuncao can pull out another split decision out his ass?
Yeah, it's, Ricky's definitely the one looking better, obviously. Raphael's 39, 38. Like, he already said in his interview, he knows.
He's born in 82.
He knows the 82. That's like
he's
38.
He's old.
So yeah, I think I mean, it's definitely the end is near. I mean, this fight is lined up for Ricky Simon to win. It's just you gotta. Because even though Simon's been doing his thing, I mean, those 3 guys are pipsqueaks, man. Perello, Ray Borg, and Ray Borg gets taken down like all the time. The other guy got starched by D Silva. What's his name? Perellino. And then Kelleher, his takedown defense ain't good either, man. So, like, I've seen all 3 of those guys wrestled. So I don't know how much credit I should give, but he definitely seems mentally like he's in the freshest spot, Those 3 fights should be a nice little warm up for the 13th ranked guy, Assuncao. You gotta just play it smart, man. As long as he controls the action and don't get into wild exchange, I think he should outwork him, or at least just move forward and be the aggressor. Assuncao likes to sit back and counter, and you need your timing on point for that style. You need, and it just doesn't seem like it's been that, man. Assuncao had a good run, man. I've met him more than a couple of times, him and his brother, man. So I think Ricky should win this fight just by moving forward, being aggressive, and not getting into silly exchanges. You know what I'm saying? But he
hopefully
he took shots from Rob Font after the Faber fight. He got cracked several times in that fight, and he was fine. So I think it's been put up to the test since too.
All right, so before we talk about the featured bout between Amanda Lemos and Angela Hill, and then we got Bilal versus Wonder Boy, we got the main event. Just want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, PrizePicks. So, guys, in my opinion, PrizePicks is the easiest way to make money on daily fantasy sports. Basically, it's you versus their projection. So, again, you don't have to enter pools with thousands upon thousands of people and pray to God that you get that 6-fighter optimal lineup. Here, you just pick between 2 to 5 players, and you can combine sports. And literally, PrizePicks has their projections of where they think the over/under on significant strikes is going to be, what the overall fantasy score is going to be, over and under on takedowns landed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the spots that I love taking advantage of on PrizePicks is when they have like a grappler, like for example, like Andre Muniz, who throws like 0 strikes. You take the under on significant strikes on a guy like that, you're going to cash out every time. Brendan Allen, another grappler. I know he struck against Puna, but he wasn't going to strike against Chris Curtis. Well, he tried. It didn't go as well. It didn't go his way. I mean, his over-under on significant strikes was like 50. I'm like, dude, he ain't landing no 50 significant strikes on this guy. So smash the unders on the significant strikes for these grapplers. You know, one that actually lost was Julian Robertson. I took the under there, and it missed by like 2 strikes. So overall, I think long term, if you attack that angle and you look at these grapplers and take the unders on their significant strikes, I think you're going to come out ahead. So all Half the Battle listeners will receive an 100% instant deposit match at PrizePicks up to $100 by using the code BATTLE at prizepicks.com or on the PrizePicks app. PrizePicks has no sharks, optimizers, or mass multi-entry. It's literally just you versus their projection. So like I said, this week, if you disagree with their projection on Chris Daukaus, if you disagree with it on Stephen Thompson, because, you know, sometimes Stephen Thompson doesn't throw that many strikes. Sometimes Stephen Thompson gets into a staring match. Let's say Bilal Muhammad comes in here and gets a couple takedowns. Then you're going to see even less strikes. I would eye the under on the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson significant strikes landed. And there's some other spots too. You can go the over-unders on takedowns. Like, there's so many things to take advantage of, and you don't have to worry about all these people competing against you. It's literally just, PrizePicks, I disagree with that projection, and as a result, I'm going to take advantage of it. So PrizePicks, like I told you guys already, they allow mixed sports entries. So this weekend, you take the over/under on Chris Daukaus. You like something in NFL, combine it with that. You want to do same sport, different sport, whatever the case may be. The options are really entirely up to you. PrizePicks has a slick, easy-to-use mobile app, both on the App Store and Google Play, and they got a 4.8-star rating in the App Store with rave reviews. So, guys, I truly believe the best and easiest way to make money on daily fantasy sports is with PrizePicks. Make sure you use our code BATTLE for that deposit match up to $100, and give PrizePicks a try today. And let me know what kind of entries y'all are putting in, man, because I've been cashing out on PrizePicks, and I think y'all should too. So PrizePicks, use the code BATTLE for in a 100% deposit match up to $100. Now, Shaq, let's break down this featured bout. So next up in the strawweight division, we got a match between Amanda Lemos. She's 10-1-1, taking on Angela Hill, who is 13-10. And currently, they got Amanda Lemos minus 300. The comeback on Angela Hill is plus 250. So, I mean, dude, we can't deny the kind of power that Lemos brings to the division. It reminds me of Andrade in the sense, not the way they fight, but in the sense that they both dropped 2 weight classes, and the power just translated out of this world. So you're getting someone in Lemos you don't often see that strawweight is landing knockdowns in there, is blowing people out the water, is knocking heads into the 5th row. So you just love to see it. And she's got a bit of that Davison Figueiredo style, just for a strawweight woman, right? So she's very impressive to watch, and I would not be surprised if one day she fought for a UFC title. And Angela Hill, I mean, she's such a grizzled vet, man. I mean, she's literally been in there with everybody in the weight class, win or lose. I mean, she's fought the who's who, man. She's been in the UFC. I mean, her UFC debut was in 2014, man. And prior to that, she was on the Ultimate Fighter. So she's been doing her thing for a long time. And I mean, she's got decent Muay Thai. You know the deal. I'd actually say she's more technical than Amanda Lemos. My issue here is how does she react to these shots that Lemos is going to land? Because if you want to like kind of bring up certain examples, I saw Randa Marcos rock Angela Hill in that first round, go out there and get that finish. But then I've also seen Jessica Andrade be able to, beat her up for 3 straight rounds, and Angela didn't go down. So Angela is durable. Angela's going to come to fight. It's just, do you think this power and just oncoming storm of Amanda Lemos is too much right now for Angela?
Yeah, I think, she's probably, in my opinion, at least, like one of the locks of the night. Look, Angela Hill, this is more so Angela. Angela Hill hasn't improved the way that everyone thought she has, man. Like, it's still the same issues of her going too hard early and then gassing out late.
You forgot a key detail.
What do you mean?
And crying split decision after.
Crying robbery,
I beat Yan Xiaonan.
Yeah, like all that shit. So it's like, I don't see the improvements. All she proved was, she could firstly, she's lost 3 of her last 4, and only that one win was Ashley Yoder. But even before that, it's like she proved that she could beat the newcomers like Carnelossi and Luke Boonme and things like that. Those are the chicks she was beating. Every time you put her up against a ranked girl or someone established, what happens? Every single time, man, she loses. Lemos, in my opinion, man, since she fought, man, what's that girl? She won by decision, actually. Mizuki, yeah. Ever since that fight, man, she kind of opened my eyes a little bit. Like, she can go 3 rounds. I guess if you want to say any weakness, I guess you would have to say, the Brazilian cardio. But I think, man, Angela Hill has cardio problems, man. I think like people always act like she's this volume machine and how she can do all this, but the results aren't there, man, and they never have been there. She likes to say she won these fights, but I disagree, man. I think Lemos is gonna come out here and put on a statement, man. She's too powerful. The setups are too nice. A better counter striker. Hill just moves forward, taking shots, and the last fight with Tisha Torres, in my opinion, was a garbage performance. Like, people thought that fight was gonna be a split decision. It wasn't even close to a split decision, man. So I'm gonna go with I can't wait for Waleed's promo as well. I'm going to go with Lemos by a dominant decision, man. Hill might last 15 minutes, but I'm thinking 30-26s, 30-27s, a knockdown in there somewhere. Like, this girl is very focused in there. Setups on the counters are very nice. So I think Angela Hill's in big trouble, man. I think Lemos is going to put on a show.
Yeah, I mean, look, also Amanda Lemos, she's a southpaw. She's the taller fighter. She's got the reach advantage. She's got the youth advantage. She lands more. She's more accurate. And most importantly for this division, she's more powerful, man. And she's got that wide stance, kind of like Davis and Figueiredo. And when it's her time to explode, I mean, bodies tend to hit the floor. And you don't often see women coming out here and landing knockdowns at the strawweight division. Check. Her last 3 fights, she's landed 4 knockdowns. Okay. Let me see how many knockdowns Angela Hill's landed in her entire career. All right. 1 against Gadelia. It says she dropped Jessica Andrade back in 2017 and 1 against Emily Kagan. So since 2014, there's only been 3 knockdowns landed for Angela Hill. Since 2020, there's been 4 for Lemos. So what I'm trying to say is that Lemos, her firepower, her explosiveness, I think it's going to be too much for Angela Hill here, whom Angela might, technically speaking, have the cleaner combos and this and that, but power can override technique in this weight class. We spoke about that a hell of a lot of times. So, yeah, I mean, I got to go with Amanda Lemos to make a statement here. And I'm very excited to see how it goes down, Let's not let Angela cry robbery one more time. Like, let's make this decisive. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sick of her being like, I'm on an 8-fight win streak. Like, it's like, no, Angela, you're not. So give me Amanda Lemos to come out here and make a statement and further her ascent up the rankings. Now, next up, they got the co-main event of the evening. We got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He's 16-5, taking on Bilal Muhammad, who is 19-3. And currently, they got, it just depends where you look. They got Stephen Thompson minus 220. The comeback on Bilal Muhammad is plus 180. There were some plus 200s available yesterday. I mean, look, Stephen Wonderboy, always been a puzzle to solve, man. I mean, he's got one of the most unique styles in the entire sport. He's paid his dues. He's been there. He's done that. He's the litmus test right now. At this point of his career, he's a gatekeeper. He's officially number 5. I know on Tapology he's 6, but in UFC he's number 5. Bilal's number 10. I mean, this is Bilal's big chance. I mean, Bilal's been working for years to get an opportunity like this to come out here and beat someone like this. I mean, he's won what? Like 9 of his last 10. I mean, Bilal ain't no slouch, man. So do you think he has what it takes to solve the serious puzzle that's given so many great fighters fits over the years? I mean, we're talking about a guy in Wonderboy, knocked out Whitaker. We're talking about a guy beat Jeff Neal and Luque. 2 guys that actually beat Bilal. How you see this one going down?
Yeah, I mean, Steven's getting up there in age for sure. You got to worry about, his timing and his reflexes and whatnot. Yeah, it's tough because, his last fight, he was doing good, but, Burns is a real threat with that jiu-jitsu, and Burns is just, number 1, number 2 in that division. So, man, Bilal, it's tough because he's very well rounded. Like I think he can do everything: wrestle, kickbox, clinch, all that good stuff. It's just in terms of the day, he's got to be on point the entire time, man. Because he is a little prone to getting wobbled here and there. Steven has been knocked out, but I would say, man, in that Luque fight and Jeff fight, I mean, he ate some shots and he was completely fine, man. That was very, very impressive, but I don't see him ever getting back into that real thick of the title race ever again. Bilal, I think he could make it close. Like, I don't think he's gonna get beat up or anything. It's just like, is he gonna win, man? I mean, I gotta go with Steven, man. I just think, he'll put pressure on him and things like that, and I think he'll do good. But to actually beat him on points, he's really not a guy that's known for finishing guys, but he's gonna have to outwork him and hold him down for spurts of time, and I just don't think that's what he can do like Gilbert Burns can. I think he's just gonna have to hope Steven's old and has an off night, man, which is possible. I mean, it could definitely happen, but I see Steven being too diverse, too much of an arsenal. I do see him getting a knockdown at some point, or a decent wobble. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Steven, but I don't know if you can pay this price for him now, man. I know a lot of people are saying it's an easy fight, but Bilal, he ain't no hoe, man. He'll fight to the end. So, but I am gonna go with Steven for the win.
I think I'm gonna be on an island on this one. Take the underdog Bilal Muhammad at plus 200 odds here. Listen, man, we can sit here and we can talk about how, well, Steven beat Jeff Neal and Vicente Luque, who both beat Bilal, but that's just MMA math. And if you want to really get down to the nitty gritty, can you answer this for me? In 8 combined rounds, because the Jeff Neal and Steven fight was a 5-round fight and the Vicente Luque was a 3-round fight, in 8 combined rounds, how many takedown attempts did Jeff Neal and Vicente Luque try out? 0. You can't beat Steve unless you're going to knock him out like Pettis did, which a lot of people consider to be a fluke. You can't beat Wonderboy without takedown attempts. I mean, unless you're going. So there's 2 ways to beat Stephen Wonderboy: a fight where not much happens, but you just kind of do slightly more than him, kind of like Darren Till did, or kind of like Woodley did, by the way. Or, knock him out like Pettis did, which I don't really see happening. Bilal's not really that kind of guy. Bilal's more, he'll put you through the meat grinder. But every single fight that Stephen Wonderboy has been taken down in, he hasn't won. Whether it was the Gilbert Durinho fight, where Gilbert went 3 for 6 on his takedowns, whether it was the Tyron Woodley fight, whether it's all the way back in the day to the Matt Brown fight, where Matt Brown went 5 for 13 on takedowns. So anytime that Wonderboy's been taken down in a fight, he's lost. And if there's one thing I know about this guy, Bilal Muhammad, unless he's fighting Damian Maia, he's going to go out there and attempt takedowns. I had the number calculated on how many takedowns Bilal's attempted, not just landed, attempted throughout his career. And it was upwards of like 20, 30, 40. Like, this guy's going to come out here and shoot takedowns. Look, if he decides to, try to do a nice little point fighting game on the outside with Wonder Boy, yeah, I mean, that'd kind of be a dumbass mistake. If he tries to recklessly brawl with Wonder Boy, that's stupid as fuck too. But make this a dirty, gritty brawl. Get right in this guy's face. Make him wrestle the entire time. And I think that Bilal's got the chance to come out here and cash as an underdog. Look, like I said, you can give me all the MMA math about how, well, Wonder Boy beat Vicente and beat Jeff Neal, and Bilal lost to those guys. Yeah, but in 8 combined rounds, Vicente and Jeff attempted a grand total of 0 takedowns on Steven Wonder Boy. Bilal ain't an idiot. Bilal's going to come out here and try to take this guy down. And I just have a heart. Look, I respect Steven like crazy. I mean, I made money on Steven back when he fought Johnny Hendricks at Dog Money. I made money on Steven back when he fought Rory McDonald at Dog Odds. The dude's almost 40 now. I just don't think, I could be wrong. I just don't see a 40-year-old beating Bilal Muhammad in a fight, period. So, yeah, I think it's going to be dirty. I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be grimy. I think he's going to get right in Steven's face, mix in the takedowns, hopefully hold him down. Going to have to overcome a couple sketchy moments in the past. Throughout the way, you know what I'm saying? I mean, get caught with one of those spinning heel kicks or get caught with a straight, whatever the case is. I mean, Wonder Boy is so goddamn good at his very unique style, but plus 200 on a guy who I know is going to fight for my money. And like I mentioned, that key takedown stat, anytime Steven's been taken down at least once in a fight, he hasn't won. So come on, Bilal, let's get these takedowns, man. Let's cash this plus 200. So I'm going with Bilal Muhammad to get the biggest win of his career, enter the top 5 before the new year, and defeat Steven Wonderboy Thompson. So give me Bilal for the dub. Main event of the evening in the heavyweight division. This is good, Shaq. We got the UFC KO King, Derrick the Black Beast Lewis. Hold on one second. I'm just pulling up his record. We got Derrick the Black Beast Lewis, who's 25-8, taking on, a guy who was 4 for 4 with 4 home runs, 4 for 4 with 4 knockouts, Chris Daukaus, who was 12-3. And currently they got it, Chris Daukaus minus 140. The comeback on Derrick Lewis is plus 120. So look, I know you can make the argument Daukaus has the faster hands. I know Daukaus has been impressive. He's got the black belt in jiu-jitsu. We got 5 rounds to work. Lewis is a durable guy. Do you think right now that Daukaus has the goods to look? I know he's going to light up Lewis early. That's not in question. Does he have the goods to have the focus, the composure to be able to come out here and not empty the load and then get knocked out down the stretch like he did the last time he lost a fight? Because one thing about Lewis, man, one thing about Lewis, man, like I get that it might look a certain way, it might be low activity until he decides to blitz, but he is an elite heavyweight. You don't just beat Francis Ngannou, and boring fight or not, you don't just beat Francis Ngannou, Alexander Volkov, Curtis Blades, and all the other guys he's beaten and just be some slouch. So Chris Daukaus, this is the biggest fight of his career. Is he ready to rise to the occasion?
Yeah, he's risen to the occasion before. I know Lewis is a different entity. This guy's knocked out the guys that you just mentioned. That's something Chris Daukaus hasn't done. But Chris Daukaus, he's been passing these tests with flying colors. You would think that, we'd have at least one, little sketchy moment in there, but he's been doing his thing. He's been putting these guys down. Lewis definitely accomplished more, but we can't. Lewis is known for these comeback KOs, and some of them are great, especially the ones like Curtis Blades, man. That one made me jump out of my seat when he did that. But I think, man, it's a tough fight because Daukaus, you got to be on your P's and Q's for 25 minutes. He's never gone 25 minutes, at least in the UFC. Derrick has plenty of time, so Derrick definitely has the advantage in that sense, the experience. Now, the skills has been a big thing for Lewis. A lot of people don't think really he's that good, but I think his best skill is his heart. I don't think you're going to see him throwing, nicely timed combos down the middle and parrying shots because he really doesn't need to. He needs to just touch guys and then let the let the madness ensue, man. So I think Chris Dawkins definitely has faster hands, more accurate, but he's gonna need to keep his composure on point, man. He's gonna need to. This guy is dangerous for 25 minutes. I would actually like to see Dawkins the underdog, but you know, when you haven't really had any trouble in any of your fights, I think that's a good way to separate prospects, man, of like who's more prone to taking their first L and who's not, man. I think Derrick Lewis, I mean, man, he only lost to Surreal Gone, Cormier. I know he lost to JDS, yeah. But I think he was hurt for that fight. Mark Hunt, yeah, he kind of has some weird losses on there. You'd think he would beat those guys, but man, it's a tough one, man. I was hoping Dawkins was going to be the underdog just with all the experience, Lewis has. But so from a betting perspective, I might stay away because I mean, this guy's got like how many more fights than Chris? Like a lot more, especially at the high level, man. This is like we were just on prelims, and I love Chris, man. I've been saying from day one that I think this guy's the real deal. Like this guy's hands when he did that to Parker Porter, I was like, whoa, like this guy is no joke. And then he followed that up with the Nascimento fight, but all those guys are younger heavyweights, so we'll see. But I'm gonna pick Chris Dawkins as a pick by knockout, but from a betting perspective, I was hoping he was the dog.
So, I mean, are we laying chalk on a cop or are we taking dog odds on the UFC KO King? I know it's funny to word it like that, right? Like make it seem like, oh, it's an obvious pick on Derrick. I know that ain't the case. I know that Chris Dawkins has some of the fastest hands in the division. Come out here 4 for 4 with 4 knockouts. I mean, that can't be written off. I just still have these questions about what happens if these fights get extended. Now, I greatly acknowledge the fact that after that fight where he got knocked out by the bum that lost to Justin Ledet, that man, he slimmed down tremendously. You know what I mean? Like, and now we're seeing that peak form, Chris Dawkins, man, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And we still haven't even seen this black belt in jiu-jitsu at the UFC level yet, right? So there's a lot I want to see from Chris Dawkins. It's just with Derrick Lewis, man. He doesn't have to be winning the minutes of the fight. He doesn't have to come out here and establish a jab. Like, he doesn't need to do any of that. He can literally do nothing. And when he decides to do the Black Beast Blitz, that's when bodies tend to hit the floor. And Chris has been KO'd. He doesn't have an invincible chin. Now, Lewis has been stopped multiple times as well, too. So it could go either way. It's not going to surprise me to see Chris Dawkins come out here and continue his ascent. I mean, I think he might be catching Lewis at the right time. But 5 rounds, Lewis, get me to this 3rd round, man, and then turn up on this guy and knock him out. So I'm going Derrick the Black Beast Lewis, man, to come out here and knock out Chris Dawkins. Someone asked, what are Chris's defensive stats? So they're great. I mean, his striking ratio is amazing, but you just got to understand none of these fights have gone the full distance. They've all been either 1st round knockouts or early 2nd round knockout. But Chris lands 9 strikes per minute. He's 53% accurate. He only absorbs 3.4, and he's got 64% defense. So, I mean, he literally has Derrick covered across the board minus the strikes absorbed in the striking numbers. But then he shot 0 takedowns his entire UFC career. Does that change here? That's a big question I have. But then again, Derrick Lewis is hard to submit, man. I mean, he'll lay on his back, but when it's time for him to explode, he tends to get back up, and then he tees off on these guys. So Derrick's just got to be careful early, man, because these hands of Dawkins are unbelievably fast for the heavyweight division. No questions asked. They're accurate. They're precise. The technique is nice too. So Derrick has to be early, just chill. Don't do much for the first 10 minutes. I mean, unless you see that opening. But I think by the 3rd round, that's where I just got this question. Like, is Chris going to start slowing down, hit that dip, and then start eating shots where you don't want to eat shots against the Black Beast? So that's what I'm worried about for Chris. So heavyweight history, Shaq, in UFC history. Well, Shaq, now we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So in your opinion, my man, for the final event of 2021, what is the fight to watch for UFC Vegas 45?
My fight to watch is gonna be the featherweight legend fight, man. Cub Swanson versus Elkins. I mean, we got two, in my opinion, legends of the sport. But like, I want to see who's gonna get the better of this one, man. I know whoever wins gets a lot of money, and Darren Elkins, if he can pull off another comeback, man. I mean, that would be crazy, especially with the type of beating that I think he's gonna take on the feet. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, my fight to watch is the co-main event between Wonderboy and Bilal. Look, I know aesthetically it might not be the most exciting fight to watch to the casual eye, and I mean that with no disrespect, but it's going to be a chess match. It's going to be a tactical battle, and one mistake could cost either guy this fight. I mean, Bilal gets hit with the wrong shot. That could be it. Steven can't get up from bottom. That could be it. So I'm very excited because like Wonder Boy, he actually ended year 2020 with a win over Jeff Neal, gave him a lot of momentum. He was on the last card of the year. Now he's on the last card of the year, except this time co-main event instead of main event. He beats Bilal. All of a sudden, he's back in the conversation. Bilal beats him. He jumps the line all the way to the top 5 and takes Steven Wonderboy's spot. So I'm pumped for this co-main event. It's going to answer a lot of questions. And I also, the line is kind of intriguing too. So Bilal versus Wonderboy is my fight to watch. Shaq, who is your fighter to watch for UFC Vegas 45?
My fighter to watch is gonna be Amanda Lemos, man. I want to see how she performs. If we get another finish here, man, these from what I've been hearing, some of these girls have been telling her no, like, I'm not fighting you. So at least that's coming from Waleed, and Waleed ain't making no shit up. So
Amanda who?
So he was like, after this one, they'll have no choice but to fight her, and I want to see. I kind of want to get her like a fast track to the title, because I mean, other than who's the number one contender?
Carla.
Yeah, I mean, she did beat Rose before, but I guess but you got Marina in there. You got a lot of. We might as well put Lemos in there too, man.
Yeah, my fighter to watch is Raoni Barcelos, man. I've had high expectations on this guy since day one. He's 34. He's in his prime right now. I mean, this is the best he's going to get. And if he wants to make that title run, I mean, you can't be taking rounds off here. And I think he's going to make a statement against a very tough Victor Henry. And honestly, I think Victor Henry comes back and he wins some UFC fights. Like, I like this kid a lot. It's just Raoni's on a different level. And I truly think that Raoni has the skills to be a top 10 guy right now. It's just about like, dude, come out here and prove it, man. So Raoni is my fighter to watch. Well, everybody, thank you all so much for checking out this very special edition of Half the Battle. Not the last show of the year, because we'll be back next week to do our awards, KO of the year, fighter of the year, stun of the year, rookie of the year, like so many of the years that we're going to be doing next week. So we can't wait to do that. Everybody do us a huge favor. Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, retweet our tweets, share the show. Like, I feel like since we took a 2-month break, a lot of people don't know that we're back. So y'all do us a huge favor. Let people know that we're back. We're out here doing this again, and we're very excited to be here. And we truly appreciate all your support. So thank you guys so much. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, all the places where we are available. Check out our sponsor, PrizePicks. Use the code BATTLE for an 100% deposit match up to $100 on the easiest and best way to make money in daily fantasy sports. Thank you guys so much. We truly appreciate it. Follow Shaq, MMA Genius 05. Follow me at Best Fight Picks. We'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the fights. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.